There's another one for the motherland. Yes, 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 there's another one for the motherland. When you share on the detail.
I like it, Paris beats.
For your info, check the intro, check the logo, I'm for the zone. Make a link up.
So when I say that you need to separate the people from the land, I really hope you understand what I mean. It's, like I say, it's very, very difficult for me to explain this to you because I could never have hoped for more welcoming, calm, placid, peaceful, lovely people than I've encountered. But lying beneath that, there is a dark dishonesty. Like I say, people have no empathy with your situation. And some of them are smart enough to understand what you expect and play to that. When I speak about dishonesty, you might think that I'm just talking about, poor people, and I'm being horrible to poor people because obviously poor people have to do whatever they can to get a little wedge. No. Think again. For a start, there are lots and lots of rich people in Tanzania. There are lots of people with money. There are lots of people who own land, even ones that don't seem to have money because they don't have lots of liquid income. They have land. It's not a poor country in that respect. Of course, there are many, many poor people. There are huge disparities in Africa. Africa is Africa. The point I'm trying to make is the ones that I'm speaking about might be affluent. It's more part of the culture. They see you as an opportunity, and you will be very, very, very silly to start falling in trust with these associations. I'm just telling you, right? Because everybody, practically everybody that I've known since I've been here, I'm talking about diasporans from outside, they've all been mugged off to one extent or another. And I'm telling you, I'm the only one who I know who hasn't been. I mean, one or two people tried, and boy, one of them even got a little bit of my money in his possession. Not only did he give me that back, right? Oh my God, that guy went through some dark pain. Anybody who wants to know the story, if I ever see you again, come and check me and I'll tell you the story. But he's the only person who managed to get some of my cash. And it was only a small amount of cash, but he got some in his possession, and boy, did he regret it. Because you people know, you know how relentless I am. You know that I would not sleep until that brother is dealt with. And boy, was he dealt with. And not only that, and I don't mean physically dealt with, I mean he was dealt with. So he gave me back my money, but he had to disappear for a good period of time, and he had to go through some serious shit. But anyway, most people aren't like me, and I can tell you that the vast majority, practically, I can tell you that 100% of the people who I've encountered over here have been scammed in one way or another. And I'm talking about scammed by people who have got money. I'm talking about scammed by people who've got businesses, pastors, all those people. It's part of the culture. I don't want to put people down, but this place has huge amounts of dishonest people. People who are in positions of power would use that power in order to get money out of you. They would use their position, whether it's in the police force, whether it's immigration, whoever they are, everybody's using their position or their power or their know-how to rinse money out of you. So you need to have backup. If you come over here and you say you want to do a business, you need to come over here and have backup, because even if you do everything right, everything according to the book, it still might not work. Because for a start, nobody here really knows what's going on. I mean, I've been into the immigration people and I've spoken to them. One person would tell me one thing, another person would tell me another thing. Nobody really knows what's going on. So if all the procedures and rules are followed, things just might not work through inefficiency. It's a very, very difficult kind of place to do any kind of business. And just don't listen to the YouTube dummies who tell you how everything's going to be so easy and everything's going to be so great. It's not. Yeah? It's been a long time since you've been to Africa, a good 400 years. And the tribes in Africa don't even necessarily get on with themselves, the ones that have been there all the time. So why are they going to just pick up and start getting on fantastically with ones that have been gone for 400 years? And don't forget, Tanzania has its own slave trade. They had the Arab slave trade up north, which was dark and brutal, just like our slave trade. So they've already got enough to be investing their emotions in. I don't think they do. If Tanzanians show emotion, I can't see it. I'm talking about, you know, that kind of... I've spoken to one or two people who are sort of educated, but it doesn't matter which part of Tanzania you're in. It seems like everybody just knows this. It seems like people just learn from a very early age. If you're a foreigner, you are an opportunity to make money. You are an opportunity for somebody, and everybody can... People try to befriend you. You will learn in time that nobody is trying to befriend you. Nobody is. All the friendships are there because they have a goal in mind. And that, the realization of this, is what makes you isolated. Like I say, not lonely, but isolated. Because you haven't got any friends. You haven't got any friends. I know this guy. This Indian guy used to run a motorcycle shop. And he told me he'd been here for something like 15 years and yet he hasn't got a single friend. He hasn't got a single friend. Now, of course, he's got many, many associations. He goes out drinking, but he hasn't got a single friend. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So when I say you've got to separate the land from the people, you're going to be disappointed in the people, period. But the land and the spiritual aspect of returning to Africa, the magicalness you can experience, if you've got an imagination, if you're very smart and if you're savvy, you know, and if you understand, if you have a good concept, if you have a good God concept, I say a God concept, but if you have a good idea of what God is, yeah, I mean, if you're not thinking God is some character in a book, yeah, or if you think God sent, or you think God had a son and sent him down here to save you, if you're thinking that kind of foolishness, right, then I can't help you. I don't know. You do whatever you want to do. But if you can build an idea of what God is, then of course Africa is a great place, because this is the first place that man come from. It means it's the most conducive place for life on earth. God is life. So you can see it here. You can see it, you can feel it in the plants, you can see it in the air. You can see how the sun just keeps everybody warm and safe. The sun is God. The sun is life, it's the giver of life. That's where we get that's where the word soul comes from. Soul, sun, soul. Souls are what gives us life. That's our lifeblood. And it all originates at the sun. Mankind has been worshipping the sun for many, 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 many years. The ancient Egyptians, who are probably the most advanced race who ever existed, revered the sun. But they did have a concept of a monotheistic God. This didn't originate with those books. all those books have done have taken ancient Egyptian mythology and wrapped it up in this Jesus character and then sold it back to you. And then you actually believe this person is Jesus. And it doesn't matter if you've got a white one or a black one. I keep hearing you lot arguing about, oh, Jesus was black, Jesus. So what? Are you going to wait for the black one to come and save you as well? Because guess what? Ain't coming. He ain't coming. He's not coming to save you. No Jesus is coming to save you, right? I'm telling you, no Jesus is coming to save you. Not a black one, not a white one. And he didn't come to save your mum, and he didn't come to save your grand's mum, and he didn't come to save your grandmum, cousin, aunt, sister's wife, daughter's cousin. They all died, and he didn't save any of them. And now you're going to continue to wait for him to come and save you? Wake up. But anyway, back to the separation between the land and the people. Because over in Kigamboni, that's the side that I lived at previously before I moved over to this African side, right? I was able to experience some of the lovely, lovely things. Some of the... It's hard for me to... I'm talking about things like, for example, I remember once, because I was living in this house and it was at the top of this really kind of spiral type staircase, right? It was really built quite badly. And the actual apartment was kind of in the roof. So if you open the back door, you kind of walk out onto the roof, you can see the green slats from the roof. And there's 2 floors down below. But that's where I was living basically. And, you know, there's lots of vegetation around, you know, there's cows and goats and, you know, it's really kind of a rural type of living. It's really, really nice. And I remember once in the morning, I got up and I opened the back door and I stepped out. And it was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. Do you know these dragonflies? These colourful dragonflies, they've got kind of a long body and they've got wingspan that's as big as their actual body, but their wings are just kind of... I'd say there was probably about 7 of them, and they were evenly spaced outside, because when you walk outside the balcony, you look over the balcony, and they were just like spaced out over the balcony, and it's like they were dancing to me. You know, I was kind of looking out and I could see all the beautiful green palm trees and bushes and everything behind, but these things, these little dragonflies, spaced out evenly, and every now and again one of them would zip over there, zip over there, zip over there. Now what struck me as quite amazing is that there was only about 7 of them. If there was like 50, then it would have been chaotic, but because there was only 7 and they were evenly spaced and they were just zipping, 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 zipping. Every now and again one would zip. They wouldn't all zip at the same time, just one would zip. And it's like they were dancing and I was looking at these things and I was just like in awe. I was just, this is amazing. You know, it was just so beautiful. You know, when I was up there, I had to really sort of get in touch with nature because, like I say, I was pretty isolated up there. I didn't know many people. I had one friend downstairs, but he'd done something really, really stupid. So he wasn't my friend anymore. I don't ramp with stupid people. I'll tell you quickly. There's a South African guy who I was trying to avoid. And I told this guy, don't tell him where I am. And I went to a place called Pweza. I was sitting down and the South African guy came up and he tapped me on the back and he goes, hi, how you doing? And I was like, oh my God. He goes to me, Moses told me you were here. And I was like, what? Moses told me you was here. And I was like, because I had to get this confirmed. I was like, Moses actually told you I was here? And he's like, yeah. Anyway, never saw Moses again. But Moses lived downstairs in that block. So every time I walked out of the block, I didn't see him. Every time I came into the block, I didn't speak to him. It was one of those ones. So I was kind of isolated even in that block. But basically, I didn't really sort of know many people. I went through a period when I was so disillusioned by the people that I just kind of kept myself to myself. So I kind of interacted with nature. When the birds came, the blackbirds always kind of perch in the morning, and I kind of got used to knowing what they eat. They love meat, actually. They love bones and meat and chicken and things like that. So I'd always put out my leftovers for them. I'd put it on the little sort of thing and they'll come and take it. I remember I was walking out the balcony once and I had some prawns that I bought the day before, but when I cooked them I realised that they'd kind of gone off. And I dropped one of the prawns on the floor. And about 2 seconds later I looked down and it was like there was ants swarming around it. So I realised that the ants like prawns. And I used to drop little prawns out for the ants all the time, do you know what I mean? Because I just wanted to feed everybody. I was on the balcony once and I dropped a piece of banana. I went back inside and when I came out I saw one of those lizards sort of sucking on the banana. So I realised that lizards like banana. Every time I went out I'd throw a little bit of banana down, and I'd always come out the door and I'd see the lizard sucking out the banana, and as soon as they see me he'd just run away. But that was the kind of relationship that I kind of developed with all different aspects of nature. Every aspect of nature, I fed everything that came in contact with me. There's some chickens in the garden downstairs, and I used to have tomatoes, and I'd throw them over, and the chickens would run to the tomato and start pecking at the tomato. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a garden next door, and what the guys do is when they herd their cattle around, they just kind of put them whichever place they see. And there's a garden next door to us and they'd put their cattle in there. So if I had a mango that's kind of going off or, whatever, I'd throw it down into the garden and you see the cows and everything, they come up and they'll munch on the mango, So, I had I had a lovely relationship with nature and I was so in awe of it. It was so amazing and I was getting so... And because I didn't have any sort of people around me, I kind of relied on the nature for my spiritual food. Do you know what I mean? For me to survive, it was me interacting with nature. And it was amazing, it was lovely. And a little something that's going on in my head, I know, but I'm sure that I got back. I'm sure that I got back as a result of the way that I kind of fed the nature and looked after the nature. And the country fed me and looked after me. And I think it was something coming from some spiritual angle. No humans involved. This is me, Africa, the nature and the animals. No humans involved in my journey. This is big. I'll tell you another little experience I had. I remember once I was out and I was riding my motorbike. I was riding up this long road, and it was quite amazing. When I was riding the motorbike, I looked up, and the moon was huge. It was absolutely massive. I'd never seen anything like this in my life. In fact, it was so extraordinary that I had to go out and research this. When I say research, I mean I just done a bit of messing around on sort of Wikipedia and stuff, and what I've kind of found is that it's actually an illusion. It's an illusion that nature plays on you, and it's got something to do with the moon just being on the horizon. When the moon is on the horizon, you can see all the Earth's kind of objects, like the roofs of, the treetops or the roofs of houses or that kind of stuff. And because the moon's behind it, it creates some kind of illusion that the moon is bigger than it is. Now, don't ask me, I don't understand it. Yeah? I've done the research, I've looked into it, and it doesn't make sense to me because what I saw was a huge moon, and it was round, and it was right at the top of the road, and I was riding my motorbike down this road, and I was riding pretty fast, and I tell you, when you ride over here in Africa, there is a beauty because you got the warm air kind of hitting you on your chest and your face, and it's so lovely, and you're at peace. Nothing is trying to harm you, and you're riding, and there is this huge moon, and the moon was orange, and inside the moon, I could see all the sort of clouds. The clouds? You couldn't see the craters, but you could see the clouds that are kind of, and I'm looking at this moon and I'm thinking, oh my God, how lucky I am. I mean, I'm experiencing all this, and probably no more than a year and a half ago, all I knew was a dingy little 7th floor council flat. And now I'm riding down this road. I've got this beautiful warm air hitting me in the face. I'm at complete peace. I'm looking up in the sky and there's a huge orange moon and everything's black, and I felt so privileged. I felt so at one. I felt so at peace that I just burst out into tears, you know what I mean? And it was like one of those moments, man, because when these things happen and when you are on your own abroad and you don't speak to anybody for a long time, you're completely isolated and alone, your emotions are heightened, you know. So when you see something so beautiful and something that you love so much, it just has this emotional effect on you, and I just burst out into tears, do you know what I mean? Because I'm thinking about my life, I'm thinking about all the negative things that happened in my life, I'm thinking about all the, and you know, and I just feel as though, what have I done to deserve this? But anyway, yeah, I did burst out into tears, you know what I mean? Now, what I want to say to you, what I want to put to you guys is that I actually packaged this experience and I shared it with someone, yeah? I opened up to this person, and do you know what this person done? This person, not only did she not respond, not only did she not reply, but she took my message and then she forwarded it to somebody else as an example to that person of how, you know, Stephen's needs help, you know what I mean? Or Stephen's going mad, or Stephen's ultra lonely and he needs, do you know what I mean? Yeah. She took my text, she forwarded it to someone else and said, look, there you go. Stephen needs some kind of help. He's lonely. This is an example of how Stephen is nuts or whatever. And then she didn't reply. So I'm opening out my heart to this person. Yeah? I'm being honest and open, trying to be nice. And I get ignored. You're not talking to me. You're not talking to me. Do you understand the futility of you not speaking to me? Thing myself. I want to be friends. Of course I want to be friends. But I'm not going to compromise on the truth in order to be your friend. I'm not going to pretend to be stupid in order to be your friend. Every single person in my life, I told them about this thing. I extensively researched this shit. I stayed in my house and I researched this shit extensively. I knew everything about what was going on inside out, and I made sure that every single person in my life, I told them. I told them straight up, and they ignored me. And because they ignored me, now I've got to be held responsible. Listen, I'm not gonna stop talking about this shit because it hurts your feelings in some kind of way. This is a reality. You should be talking about this stuff. You should be talking about it, because if you went out there and took this thing, then you need to know about what it is, how you're going to cope with it, how, if there's any remedies to it, what the agenda is. You need to know everything. The truth is an imperative. And I tell you what, whilst you're learning, whilst you're learning the truth, it's not a nice thing. It's not a nice road. Because you have to really sort of delve in and start to really understand what are the motivations of these people. Who are they? What are they doing? What are they up to? How do they do what they do? And it's not nice studying. It's not nice studying. I'll tell you the bit that hurt me the most, the bit that was hardest for me to cope with. With children, what they're doing to the children worldwide. That's going to be a hard thing for you guys to cope with. If you're not aware of it, if you don't know what's going on, that's going to be a hard thing for you lot to cope with. And they're all playing at it, man. Hollywood. Well, I don't know if they are anymore. I mean, I've got my suspicions and my ideas about what's going on in the world now, but I can't prove it, so I'm not going to kind of go on about it, you know. But when you kind of look into things as deeply and as I did, you start to be educated by something more than just facts. You know, you can feel things. Yeah? Stephen's definitely going mad now. But, you know, these people, the people who are doing all this, are not going to succeed, and they're not going to continue to do the kind of evils that I'm speaking about. Their time is up. Okay? You lot need to stop with this mad stuff, right? Let me tell you something straight up. I'm telling you something straight up. You lot need to stop with this mad stuff. Yeah? Because I remember when I came over here and the nutty things that were going on in the world, right? Listen, old people were dying in those hospitals and they weren't dying of COVID. So, do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's too much for me to say murder because the people who were doing the things that they were doing were kind of following orders. But there was a lot of old people who were dying who didn't need to die because COVID wasn't killing anybody. Do you need to know anything more about the seriousness of what was going on? They were preparing to inject people whole scale with poisons, right? Now in those circumstances, it warrants a reaction. It warrants a response. Now, mine was to try to alert everybody around me. Mine was to recognize that there is mental shit going on. You know, this is not JFK, okay? This is not 9/11. They are coming for you now, yeah? They're coming for you. You have to sit up now. You have to wake up. You've got no choice. The stakes are too high, I'm afraid. So anyway, I was trying to alert people around me, and then people, you know, it might not have been so overt, but I know that people were starting to associate this mad label with me. Let me tell you something. You need to stop that. You need to stop that mad shit. How on earth could I be mad? How could I be mad? Look at everything that's happened. Look at my life. Look at what's transpired. Look at the experiences that I had. If I die tomorrow, I can say I've done it, man. I can say that I'm happy. You know? Sometimes you need to be bold. Sometimes you need to be brave. I'm not saying that I'm bold or brave, but one thing that I'm saying is that something outside of myself helped me out in this situation. Maybe God is one's inner defense mechanism. Maybe God is our survival instinct. But whatever it is, something pricked me up and made me do the right thing. Now, back onto the mad shit, right? Because I need to have a serious talk with you guys about this. Because there are certain people in my family who are trying to label this mad thing on me. I'm going to tell you once, and once only. Because you lot tried that. What you do is you go out there, you treat people like shit. Yeah? You treat people extremely badly. And then when you get the response, you label them mad. Now, your shit might have worked with her because she wasn't a warrior. Yeah? But she gave birth to one. And let me tell you, any of you come to my face and tell me I'm mad. I dare you. I double dare you. Come to my face and tell me I'm mad. Because you lot and that mad shit has got to stop. Yeah? When I'm trying to be nice and people take it and they throw it in my face, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. Yeah? I'm not one of them little pussies. Don't get me mixed up. Yeah? Okay. Let's forget. You see, for me, the awakening is not just about awakening to the dark forces on the outside. It's also about awakening to the dark forces on the inside. Whether they are intentional or not, there are things in your life that are putting you off the right path. And because you've always had them, because you've grown up with them, it's very, very hard for you to be honest with yourself. Well, the awakening, you have to be honest with yourself. You know, this is, as far as I know, this is the only life that I'm going to have. And I'm not going to waste it for anything or anyone that doesn't do their utmost to be positive and try to do the best and the right thing on my behalf. The betrayal is extraordinary. The betrayal that I experienced is extraordinary. And I've got every reason to feel completely and utterly let down. You see, all I was trying to do was the right thing. I know somebody, that somebody knows who they are, but they're heavily into these pharmaceutical drugs. I went to this person's house and there was a pile of pharmaceutical drugs on the table. Now, knowing what I know about the pharmaceutical industry, because I studied it intensely at the time that I'm telling you about, I put it to this guy, you need to stop this, you need to cut down on this. I know because my mother was heavily into pharmaceuticals. All at a time when we were all living in the illusion, all at the time when the pharmaceutical industry, we all thought it was some kind of benevolent industry that went out there to produce drugs. Well, now you know different. Now we all know different. Now we have to look at the world in a completely different way. So when I put it to this guy, you need to stop taking these things. They're not going to do you any good. Boom, 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 boom. Sort of abuse, sort of, you know, hitting back and being nasty and blah, blah, blah. So, what can I do? You know, and then when you're faced with a situation in which the virtues of what I said, as opposed to this person's attitude, are supposed to be kind of assessed by neutral parties. The neutral parties will say, they won't go on the side of what is right. They will go on the side of, well, everybody has their individual freedom. You see, we've lost all sense of community now. We've lost the sense of doing the right thing. They've turned us all into individuals. You know, if I ask somebody who is supposed to be a loved one, her vaccine status, because I want to know if I can advise her in some way or another. And she would be, I'm not telling you my vaccine status, it's got nothing to do with you, because she's mixed up in this modern living, this modern world. They've turned us into individuals that mustn't care for each other. It shouldn't be normal for us to care for each other, to be concerned for one another. What's normal, what is right, is that we are all individuals and we've all got our own rights, and we don't mix and we don't have to get involved with anybody. Silly dummies, man. Silly dummies. Yeah? That's why they come and drop things like the LGBTQ agenda on us. Yeah? And the weak amongst us just lap it up. Just lap it up. Yeah? Now, before I continue on this, I just want you to know something. Because you're probably going to come out and say some foolishness about me being anti-gay or whatever. When I went to Thailand and I was surrounded by these kind of ladyboys, and you know, there's kind of a whole sort of gay kind of culture over there. Did you see or hear any kind of negativity out of me? The answer is no. And do you know why that is? Because it wasn't being used as a tool to break down the fabric of society around me. It wasn't being used as a tool to confuse the youngsters in my community. It wasn't being used as a tool to normalize pedophilia and to break down the moral fabric of society such that we are spiraling into a disgusting, you know. That is the difference. What I put to you lot, sorry, not you lot, but what I put to certain individuals was that this was happening. And I said it way back. And all I got, so this means that, that means that, and then I had to just turn around and walk away. Yeah, and then people are looking at me like I'm some kind of horrible person because I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, and now you know it's the truth because it's patently obvious, it's in your face. They're telling little girls to chop off their breasts. Do you know what I mean? Telling little boys to chop off their tings at ages where they could not possibly have any idea of what they're doing. These people are dark, man, and you are on their side because you're ignorant, yeah? Because you want to watch Strictly Come Dancing. Or you want to have the freedom to watch the Eurovision Batiman contest, where they impregnate all these ideas in your mind and you don't even realize it. Just the other day, somebody sent me one of a video about the Eurovision Song Contest, where you got these guys simulating anal sex on stage, but it's all done within the fantasy of one of these stage acts. I put it to you that you didn't even see that, but your subconscious was absorbing it, and I'm putting this to you and you're just laughing and rubbishing me. Okay, that's cool, rubbish me, that's cool, yeah? But just be aware. Just be aware. Because some of these things, some of the mistakes that some of us are making now, it's possible that they're irreversible. I always contend that Jaja was more powerful than the devil. And Jaja made you, he fashioned you. So there's always hope. And like I say, everybody in Yam those things, I don't think all of them are going to die. I saw certain things about batches. Certain batches are contaminated much worse than others. And if you're just unlucky enough to get one of those batches, then you're going to be affected. And some are going to be affected a lot worse than others. But the point is, you can't put it on me. You can't keep hating me for telling you the truth and for saying the truth. You have to put that to bed now.